Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is cause. Let's take a moment to look at some of the definitions or ways that we use this verb. The first way you might hear the verb cause used is to mean to make something happen or to make something occur. We'll look at many examples of this a little later, but it gets used in so many different ways, in scientific ways, sometimes to explain something bad that has happened. A second way that's very much related to our first definition here says to compel by authority or force. So the idea here is one thing is responsible for making something happen, but they are making something happen either through their authority, so it could be because they hold a higher position, or maybe they're using some force to make something happen or to make something occur. You should know that cause is a regular verb. To make the progressive tense, we're going to drop the E and then add ing to form causing. The past tense and participle form of this verb are made by just adding the letter D because this verb already ends in an E. The base verb cause ends in a Z sound, so our past tense ending is going to make a D sound. Caused, caused. You'll be excited to know that I don't have any additional meanings through phrasal verbs using cause. And before we move on to our verb tense practice today, I want to do just a quick review. We are going to look at using cause to discuss expectations. And there's a particular phrase that is commonly used to talk about expectations, and that is be supposed to, and then a base verb. And we can use this in the past, the present, or the future. And again, we'll look at that in a few moments. But I think it's also good for us to review what is meant by expectations. So sometimes, as we discuss our expectations, we are referencing rules. So an example of this could be, they are supposed to park over there. So the rule is no parking over here, parking on that side. We also use this be supposed to talk about customs. So these, again, sort of think of kind of like a habit or routine, but maybe one that is sort of unique to a particular group of people. Here's an example of that. We are supposed to stand when the bride walks down the aisle. So in some cultures, this is the custom. This is the habit that is observed. Another way we talk about expectations is when we're making a prediction. An example of that, it's supposed to rain today. Okay? Again, someone might be basing that on things they've read and think there's a high degree of likelihood. We also use it to talk about things where we sort of have a shared general belief or a general opinion that is shared among many different people. An example of that, the beaches in Hawaii are supposed to be beautiful. So everybody says, I've never been, but this is, I've heard it from this friend, I've heard it from coworkers, etc. The last way we might use be supposed to reference expectations is connected to our plans. So an example of that, I'm supposed to pick up the package by 5 o'clock. Right? This is my plan. Okay? So now hopefully this helps us understand what's meant by expectations. So now we're going to look at expectations kind of broadly with the verb cause. And we'll, again, spend a moment looking at past expectations, present, and future. Okay, let's start with the past. So we're going to take our be supposed to, and we need to change our be verb into the past tense. So that's going to be was or were. And then our structure after that, right, we'll use was or were, supposed to, and then the base verb. Let's look at an example. The government's policies were supposed to cause massive inflation. So they thought this would make inflation happen. Right? Could tie back to the second one that they would have no choice but there to be inflation. But I think it's probably easier to tie it back to our first definition of the verb cause. Now, if you want to make a negative sentence to express a past expectation, we just need to insert not after our past form of be. You can see that in the example. You weren't supposed to cause any trouble. So maybe this is a parent talking to a child. They left the child with a babysitter or with a family member for a while, and it didn't go so well. You can also ask a yes or no question about someone's expectations. To do that, we'll start with our past form of be, then we'll have our subject, then supposed to, and the base verb. Was the weather supposed to cause a delay? Was that an expectation? Did they think there would be rain and whatever outdoor event would need to be delayed a bit until it stopped raining, for example? Now let's look at making sentences that express an expectation in the present. To do this, again, we're going to use be, supposed to, and our base verb of cause, but this time we're using the present form of be. So that's am, is, and are. Let's look at our affirmative example. The books are supposed to cause whoever is reading them to think more deeply. So again, this idea of make something happen, make deep thought occur. If you want to make a negative sentence to express present expectations, just insert not after the be verb. Here's another example. The procedure isn't supposed to cause any pain. So this might be a doctor or nurse preparing someone for maybe a minor surgical procedure. And finally, again, you can ask a yes or no question about your or someone else's expectations in the present by starting with a present form of be that matches the subject. That will come next, and then we're going to follow with supposed to and our base verb. Is this drink supposed to cause people to feel more energetic? So I've got a bit of a typo there on the screen, so this is good if you keep your audio on so I can correct it. Is this drink? I might have been thinking more and changed my mind at the last thing. So now let's look at making sentences that express future expectation. And what you're going to see here is that our structure, present form of be, supposed to, and the base verb is the same. And the way we know that this is talking about a future is through time signals. And so you'll see those in all of our examples. But we're going to make affirmative sentences that express future expectations exactly the same way that we just made present ones. Let's take a look. More vaccinations are supposed to cause an increase in summer travel, right? So we're just beginning the summer season. This kind of makes this a bit of a look into the future. The negative example. The heavy rain isn't supposed to cause any flooding tomorrow. Tomorrow's our time signal that lets us know this is a future expectation. And again, we've got a yes or no question here. Is the construction supposed to cause delays next week? Next week is our time signal, again, letting us know this is a future expectation. Now, let's spend just a few minutes looking at words that are related to our verb cause. And the first word we're going to look at is just the noun form of this word. So, same spelling, same pronunciation. It can have a few different meanings. We're just going to look at two. And I'm going to note, in case anyone's interested in the law, or maybe you're thinking about law school, this word can have very specific legal meanings that I'm not going to talk about in much detail here. So, with that disclaimer, let's look at a more common usage of the noun cause. And that is a principle or a movement that one is prepared to defend or advocate for. Let's take a look at an example sentence. He devotes his time to the cause of immigration reform. So in this sentence, the principle or the movement here is the United States needs better policies related to immigration. So maybe this person calls and writes his senators. Maybe he goes to protests and demonstrations. Maybe he gives money to different causes that are all connected to immigration reform. That is all of those things and many other activities could illustrate that this person is prepared to advocate for a specific position. A second way to use the noun cause is to refer to reasonable grounds for doing, thinking, or feeling something. Here's an example of that. Are these symptoms cause for concern? This might be a question you ask a medical professional. I've been having this kind of pain or these sort of issues. Is this grounds? Would it be reasonable for me to be concerned that there's a more serious medical issue? The next word we'll look at is the noun causation. This refers to the action of causing something. Here's an example of that. The court found that there was no evidence of causation. This example sentence again kind of ties back to the legal meaning that one might encounter with cause, but usually to illustrate that someone is responsible for an injury, to show that they caused the particular injury and not someone or something else. The last word we'll look at today is the adjective causal. This means relating to or acting as a cause. So let's take a look at an example sentence. Research did not show any causal relationship between higher vitamin D levels and reduced susceptibility to COVID-19. So I borrowed this sentence from a news article that was talking about research that had been done. They looked at people taking large doses of vitamin D or regular doses of vitamin D. And they tracked, were these people less likely to get COVID-19? And they weren't able to establish a relationship, or they weren't able to say the people who didn't get it, well, they didn't get it because of their vitamin D. Might have been other reasons. So I think you'll see this adjective causal used to describe or modify the word relationship and other similar words. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.